Croeso I chwedlau a chan Cymru. Welcome to Folk Tales and Songs of Wales. Tonight I'm going to be introducing you to one of the great heroines of Cymru, of Wales, and that is Gwenllian. She's often described as Wales's version of Boadicea. However, Boadicea is a Latin name given by the Romans, and Buddig is her name in the Cymraeg, in the Welsh language, because of course at that era Cymru was covered much of the island of what we now know as Britain, and she would have spoken a Proto-Brythonic language that is rooted in today's modern Welsh. So Boadicea, Welsh, Gwenllian, Welsh. We have lots of inspiring heroines in Welsh folk myths, legends, and Gwenllian is one that is truly deserving to be remembered. The year is 1136. Gwenllian, she's sat upon her throne high up on the edges of the Black Mountains. There's a deep mist throughout the valley, and she sits on the throne of the castle of Deheubarth. A rider comes in, running into the hall, and he's carrying a message. The message he relays is that the Norman Lord, the Norman Marcher Lord, Londres de Maurice, has called for reinforcements to Kidwelly Castle. Gwenllian knows that if Londres gets reinforcements, then perhaps the lands that her countrymen had fought for and regained in Llwchwr on the Gower Peninsula, modern-day Lycha, not long after this message has arrived, then all that would have been for nothing. Also, she was very keen that the Normans were currently on the back foot, and she knew this. It was a strategic advantage they currently had, but Londres having reinforcements was not a good signal for Gwenllian. So, without hesitation, she stood up from her chair and she yelled, "Fetch my armour!" For she knew, although her husband was away, there was an opportunity to stop this before it started. So she rallied the troops. She called all the countrymen in the surrounding area that could bear arms to follow her for the cause. And of course, knowing who she was and the woman that she was, the men gladly followed her down the Towey Valley, which is the river, the Towey, down the Gwendraeth Valley to the battlefield. Because it was so quick, Gwenllian knew she'd only managed to muster a small force, maybe 100 or 200 at the most, and they were severely outnumbered. But this didn't really faze her. She had the element of surprise, and she also knew that Londres, the arrogant Norman lord, knew that her husband was away up north visiting her father in the kingdom of Gwynedd. So he wouldn't have ever suspected that there would have been a war tribe, a collection of warriors coming down from Deheubarth at that time. She knew this. She knew this. So using guerrilla tactics that her father and her husband had taught her, In numerous other battles against the Marcher Lords, she hid in the woods north of Gwenllian. She also sent another force, led by Gruffydd ap Llywelyn, to intercept the reinforcements along the coastline. They sat here and wait, ready for the perfect opportunity to jump out. Under the starry skies, they camped, and Gwenllian thought about the beautiful country, her beautiful sons that were surrounding her, and the future of her kingdom, of her countrymen, and the language and traditions that she held dear, and how important this was. She awoke early the next morning. There was dew on the ground. She came out from her tent to smell the fresh air, surrounded by 100 or so of her countrymen. She felt safe. Moments later, this safety, this feeling of safety, slowly passed. A rider approached with another message. It read that Londres de Maurice was marching towards their position. This meant only one thing, that, full of anger, she knew that Gruffydd ap Llywelyn, had betrayed her. The man she entrusted to intercept the reinforcements along the coastline had given away her position, had given away her tactical advantage. She hurried back into her tent, put on her armour, and rallied her troops around her to meet Londres head-on in battle. Upon her steed, snorting and kicking the ground, eagerly anticipating the fight that was ahead of her, she raised the banner and let out a war cry, rallying her troops to follow her, to hit the enemy's lines head on. Bravery knew no bounds. As they approached the line, she broke through, and before she knew it, she was fighting in amongst hundreds upon hundreds of Norman troops. Surrounded, it wasn't long before she was knocked from her horse. Her eldest son noticed this and came straight to the aid of her mother. As any mother would, she wished that he would have left her and stayed upon his horse, but he was there brandishing his sword to protect his mother. A fight broke out and he was slain in front of her mother. And not long after, Gwenllian was slain herself. Her middle son was captured and presumably killed, but her youngest son lived to tell the tale, and lives in his mother's memory throughout the rest of history, ensuring that the work that she contributed so much, her life, her son's life, would not be lost. Her youngest son was Lord Rhys of Deheubarth, and he went on to do great things for the Welsh language, including the first Eisteddfod at Castell Aberteifi, Cardigan Castle. Her sacrifice inspired a generation. The war cry that they used to muster the remaining rebellions, the remaining revolts against any Norman kingdom, was Dialachos Gwenllian, revenge for Gwenllian. Everyone knew the sacrifice she had given, the bravery she had shown, and that inspired a generation. I'd like to share the song that she inspired in me. Mae stori yn dechrau ni'n si chwech rhyfelwyr am ddiffyn ein tir. Nid Llywelyn neu Owain ar y dyn yn sôn o nawr ystafrog lan. Ymlaen, ymlaen Gwenllian, ymlaen i ni. Ymlaen, ymlaen Gwenllian, ti'n ysbrydol i ni. Ar y glenydd y Gwendraeth, naeth i cwrdd Llwndagwyr Londres a criw, i atel groes gynwyr i hyn wlad a chadw o wlad ma'n fyw. Ymlaen, ymlaen Gwenllian, ymlaen i ni. Ymlaen, ymlaen Gwenllian, ti'n ysbrydol i ni. Talesti'r cosmo mwyaf y byd, neb ots neon i bai. Yn rhyfel gwisg Deheubarth, ni'n clywed eich rhyfel gri. Dal achos Gwenllian, dal achos i ni. Dal achos Gwenllian, ti'n ysbrydol i o hi. Ymlaen, ymlaen Gwenllian, ymlaen i ni. Ymlaen, ymlaen Gwenllian, ti'n ysbrydol i ni. Diolch yn fawr.